Welcome back to 360 Recaps. Today we will recap Season 1 Episode 3 of Only Murders in the Building. We open to a flashback of 2005 where Oliver is pitching an outlandish and expensive show idea to Teddy. Everyone thinks he's nuts, but Oliver recounts his success rates in other productions. Teddy reluctantly agrees and they all celebrate what they believe will be a giant success. Flash forward 15 years. We once again see Charles and Oliver recording the podcast. The two, as usual, are arguing, so they decide to contact Mabel to settle their difference. While trying to decide whether to call or text Mabel,
calls bother them for some reason.
There is a knock at the door. It's Ursula, the building manager, dropping off more gut milk for them to purchase in exchange for information on Tim Kono. Ursula also delivers a message from Bunny stating that if Oliver does not pay his building fees in 24 hours, his water and power will be cut off.
She said I had 2 weeks.
As Oliver stresses over his bills, Charles sends Mabel a text inviting her to go over murder suspects with them. She accepts. The trio stands together and look at a board of murder suspects that Charles has compiled. He took selfies in order to surreptitiously get pictures of other tenants without their knowledge. Except Sting. Charles took a regular picture with Sting. The musician lives in the building and Charles is a big fan. When Mabel asks how these pictures will help, Charles tells her that they will whittle down suspects by finding the man in the tie-dye hoodie and Tim's unknown fiancée. But Oliver suggests that they find the murderer the same way you cast a Broadway musical, by figuring out who is the best fit for the part. In his mind, he deduces that it must be Howard, the cat owner. Tim threatened to shoot his cat, so Howard knew he had a gun. Mabel adds that that would explain the cat's paws in Tim's blood. Oliver sends Charles and Mabel to record an interview with Howard while he tries to find a solution to his money troubles. Oliver goes to see present-day Teddy. He attempts to flatter him, but Teddy sees through it and dryly asks what he wants. Much to Teddy's chagrin, Oliver walks right past him into his apartment. Meanwhile, Mabel and Oliver head up to see Howard. While on the elevator, Charles begins to talk to and flirt with a woman who is the first chair at the City Symphony. Charles compliments her music and she introduces herself as Jan before Charles and Mabel get off the elevator. As they walk off the elevator, Charles asks if his nose is bleeding. Charles tells her that he gets nosebleeds when he gets nervous. She reminds him that they must remember to inform Howard that he is being recorded without him realizing he is being recorded. Upstairs, Oliver pitches the idea of the true crime podcast they are working on and asks for $32,000 to produce it. Teddy balks at the idea. He absolutely refuses and rushes him out of the door. Downstairs, Mabel and Charles talk to Howard about Tim Kono. Howard talks about his distaste for Tim and how Tim had gotten worse since he was fired from his investment job due to losing lots of money for a big client. As Howard is speaking, Mabel reminds Charles to state that they are recording out loud. Charles awkwardly mentions that they are recording audio and it draws suspicion from Howard. Just then, Charles's nose begins to bleed. This causes Howard to pass out. Charles rushes to get ice from Howard's freezer, but notices that a frozen Evelyn is in the freezer. Charles accidentally breaks off her leg. Not knowing what to do with it, he puts the cat's paw in his pocket. Howard reveals that he has vasovagal syncope, a condition that causes him to faint at the sight of blood.
Probably keeps you from doing a lot of things, like being present for bloody murders.
This makes Mabel believe that he could not have murdered Tim as he would have seen too much blood in the process. But Charles thinks his fainting is just an act. When asked why he keeps a dead cat in his refrigerator, he states that he thinks that Tim poisoned Evelyn and that he is getting a toxicology report. Back in his apartment, Oliver gets the idea to sell the original movie poster for his production, Splash. He believes that it will sell for $10,000. While waiting for the elevator, Charles catches Oliver taking his poster for sale.
What are you up to?
They go to his apartment to talk about it and Oliver reveals that Splash was a huge failure and that he lost his son's college fund by investing in it. This explains the strained relationship between father and son. Charles gives him a pep talk, and this inspires Oliver to go to Teddy once more.
Oliver Putnam? is not going to take no for an answer.
Mabel is seen walking down an unknown hallway. She is going to see Mr. Torres, Oscar's father. Oscar was released this week from prison, presumably for Zoe's death. Mabel asks if he is there as she would like to see him. Mr. Torres refuses, telling her,
My son needs a fresh start. Don't come here again.
Oliver once again goes to Teddy
Time for that drink, Teddy.
and makes an impassioned pitch for funding for his podcast. Teddy relents and asks him if $32,000 is all he needs.
Now it's 35. Always more.
While going through Tim's belongings, Mabel sees a note specifying a meeting 4 days from now on Shore Road at 4:30 p.m. While getting on the elevator with his dog, Oliver sees none other than Sting. He tries to make conversation with the celebrity, but Sting is annoyed both by him and his dog. Later on, the three are sitting in Charles's apartment when Oliver announces that their podcast has gone live. This upsets Charles as he believes Oliver is rushing it, but Oliver assures them that it will be fine, to which the two are doubtful.
Worry not.
And I'm f***ing worried.
I'm so fucking worried.
Oliver makes his way downstairs to his apartment and sees a threatening note has been left on his door that reads, "Stop the podcast or I end you." Upon entering the apartment, he sees that his dog has been poisoned. Wondering to himself who could have done it, we see a shot of Sting singing on stage.
Don't stand so close to me.
We then see a look of shock on Oliver's face. Do you enjoy true crime? Play an interactive true crime-inspired murder mystery game where you get to search the victim's room by clicking on items and watching scenes of her life. Based on a true story, solve the murder of this young woman.
Where am I? What happened? Who did this to me?
Just click on the link in the description to play this free game. Subscribe for more videos. Click the notification bell to be notified when new episodes are recapped, and as always, stay sleuthy.